Hey everyone, before we start today, could you please do us a quick favour? If you enjoy listening to our podcast, please give us a little review on Apple Podcast or wherever it is that you listen to us. It helps us so much to be able to keep on growing this podcast. Thank you ever so much.
Now then everyone, it's the Wedding Mavericks podcast, a podcast for wedding photographers and videographers who want to build successful, sustainable businesses. My name's Jules and I'm joined by Lindsay. And on today's episode, we are discussing, has social media ruined weddings? So, a bit of a controversial topic, I guess. I don't know where to start really in the best way because it's a little bit of a different topic to what we've talked about for the last few weeks in terms of shooting weddings, that sort of topic. This is more of a kind of subjective. Everyone's got a view or an opinion on this, haven't they? Mm-hmm. And depending whether you love or hate social media, or you're just indifferent, maybe, will probably depend on what your answer is to the question. Maybe it's not ruined it, but it's certainly spoilt some aspects of it for me. That's it, done, podcast over. But of course, now we'll talk about it for a bit. Hey, that's why we're here.
Absolutely. And it would be good, of course, and I know we'll mention this as we finish up the podcast today, but I think it's a bit of a thought-provoking one, this, isn't it? And because we are, of course, or our community is photographers and videographers, I think there's two sides of the coin to this, isn't there? And because we do a little bit of both, not a little bit of both, it's our whole business, we do a lot of both, but because I guess we have done both aspects, both sides of things, then I think that we can appreciate
it from different perspectives.
Yes.
Yeah. So this discussion that we're going to have today is about things that we've observed and feel generally from doing weddings, wedding days, and also, social media is a huge marketing tool, so we have to spend time on there. Mm-hmm. You could choose not to spend time on it, but I think that in this current climate, it is a big part of most people's marketing strategies.
Yeah.
But we would love to hear from you if you've got an opinion on this after you've listened to this podcast. We'd love to hear from it. So if you do want to give us your views, if you agree, disagree, or have a different point of view, please let us know at Wedding Mavericks on Instagram. Send us a DM, and we'd love to kind of have a chat through and get people's other perspectives, because this is not just our view. What we're going to talk about today. These are things that we have these discussions. You probably, if you're working alongside other suppliers at weddings, you might have these discussions. You might kind of know people in the industry and be friends with them outside of the wedding day, and you might kind of have these conversations with them. So everybody's going to have these feelings and stuff. So we love to hear from other people, as we are also not just using our own opinions here, but this is things that we've had chats with other suppliers, other photographers and videographers about. So, in many ways, I'd say social media is a great thing for wedding suppliers. Mm-hmm. I think we can all appreciate what it's done, or what social media can do for your wedding business.
Absolutely.
It's enabled many of us to grow our business in ways we couldn't have historically. So if you kind of think about how you would have reached potential clients, how you would have showcased your work previously, maybe 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, there wouldn't have been that many options available to you, and it would have been less affordable to reach as many people.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more focused and targeted, I suppose. When we go back to those marketing terms, Linz, because you know these marketing terms better than I do. So things like wedding fairs, things like wedding blogs, wedding magazines.
Magazines, yeah. I was going to say more kind of something a little bit more tangible.
Yeah.
if you like. So like you say, wedding magazines, hard copies of things, flyers, even sometimes, thinking about open events, thinking about wedding fairs, things like that. It would be a meet and greet of this local pool of people. Or if you were doing it at a particular venue, yes, that may be sort of further afield than where you lived, but it would be with a specific venue. So it would be, you'd be attracting the people that would more than likely solely be looking at getting married at that venue.
Yeah, there'd be kind of a catchment to it, wouldn't there? It'd be very difficult to target people getting married in a different part of the country without having to travel to those different parts of the country, build up those relationships with other vendors, venues, things like that in those parts of the country. But social media changed all that. And, from our own perspective, we managed to go from nothing, absolutely not Scooby-Doo about the wedding industry, not Scooby-Doo about the wedding photography and videography. We managed to go from nothing to having a successful business in around a year. And that was, I would put, obviously taking the hard work that we put into it out of the equation, I would put that a huge part of that success down to social media.
Yeah.
At the time, that would have been Facebook. Instagram wasn't as popular then. It was coming up, but it wasn't. This is like 5-6 years ago. It wasn't the main thing. The main thing at the time was Facebook. It had a really good organic reach. It also, worked really well for being shared, because you'd put something on there and all your friends would share it, and then their people share it, and it just used to find people. So you could, without spending very much money on it and without having to do very much, you could reach quite a lot of people, and I think that helped us grow very quickly.
Definitely.
And I don't think we could have done that without social media. I can't really imagine, there'll be people that have been in the industry for a lot longer than us, so there'll be people that have had to build their business up the traditional way, if you like, the older school way, where you went to wedding fairs and things like that. I can't imagine how we would have grown so quickly without social media. No,
we experimented with wedding fairs and showcases, didn't we, along the way, and certainly in the early days. But like you say, there was definitely a cap straight away on the number of people, and like the radius, if you like, that you could reach. Yeah. When it came to that. Yeah.
And I think, we still use social media quite heavily in terms of marketing, and we use organic stuff on Instagram, but we also use ads on Instagram. We have a lot of success using those things, or we have done, previously to now. So, that, not that you want to rely on one thing, but I think social media has been absolutely key to our business, and it will be to many of yours. It will have been in the past, and it will be into the future. Yeah. So you kind of have to. It's a necessary thing. I didn't want to. I was almost going to say necessary evil, and I didn't want to say, because I don't want it to sound too negative at the start. It's a necessary thing that we all probably have to do.
Yeah, we talked about. I remember podcasts ago when we were actually talking about the subject of different marketing strategies and social media marketing particularly, before we delved into kind of websites and things like that, and we referenced your social media pages as your shop window.
Yeah.
Almost. It's that first glimpse, it's that first look, and it's your opportunity there to entice people to kind of want to take a look beyond that, go into the shop, if you like.
Yeah.
Cross over to your website.
Browse the shelves or the racks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, we all know the importance of kind of making a big impact with that, and we know how the tools that have been available, the way different platforms have evolved, how that's enabled us to kind of have these additional little tools and little features that we can use to just emphasize, and kind of share the work that we've done. So yeah, absolutely. It's been great.
Yeah.
For us growing.
But more recently, has it gone too far, Lindsay? Has it gone too far? Is it all getting a bit too much now? don't want to answer that, do you? Most of this discussion is going to be around Instagram. This is the most used, from what I can understand. I'm not an expert, I'm not a social media expert, but from what I can understand, it's the most used social media platform at the moment. TikTok might be kind of coming up there with the...
Are you speaking in general terms, or do you mean specifically for our industry?
Well, I think for our industry is more relevant. Generally, it probably still is generally, but maybe it's not. Maybe something like TikTok, I don't know. Maybe statistically there's more people still on Facebook or something, I don't know. I'm not really talking about that. I mean, we want to talk about wedding industry, don't we? So for the wedding industry, I'd say Instagram's still the most relevant. In the future, though, it's probably going to be something like TikTok. So
potentially.
So like, you know, and with Instagram, it's obviously changed. It's adapted over the last sort of 6 months, a year. It's definitely laid its stall out to become more of a video first platform rather than photo sharing. Obviously, when it was started, it was all about photos, and it was a very specific type of photo. You know, it was the way that the format of the platform was. It was very specifically square photos, I believe. And now, obviously, we are down the line, and it's now all vertical, and it's also video first. So the platform itself has transformed massively, but so was Facebook from when it started. You know, Facebook, people just used to... You know, there might be some people listening to this that don't remember when Facebook started. We do. You know, I don't think you used it that much to start with. I was one of those annoying people that used to post like a bit. I used it a bit like Twitter, and I think a lot of people used it a bit like Twitter. And I don't go on Twitter now. I don't really use Twitter, so I can't comment on how Twitter's used. But I think people just like comment on shit, don't they? Like if you've got an opinion on something or you're doing something, it's like a bit of a, you know, say your bit or commentary on life type thing. Whereas that's kind of how Facebook started off, and then it became more about sharing funny videos and sharing photos of nights out and things like that. And now it's just groups and ads. So that's transformed over its time, and Instagram's doing exactly the same. Yeah. And will continue to. So whatever we're all thinking now and happy about or not happy about now, 2 years, 5 years from now, it'll be completely different anyway. And something like TikTok, what's TikTok going to do? TikTok's not going to stay the same either. It will adapt, and these platforms are just there to try and keep your attention and please you as the user. So whatever people want, that's what it's going to give them. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about really, is how that's influenced the wedding industry and start to change things at weddings and the way the wedding industry seems to work. So I'm just going to give a little quote that I saw when I was doing a bit of research on this topic, and I was just Googling a few things, and one blog came up, and it had this title that I thought was really interesting. I can't remember what it was, so unfortunately I can't tell you the source, but it said, my Instagram feed, this is a quote from a real couple in a wedding magazine. My Instagram feed is making me hate the wedding I planned. That was the quote. So like, that's crazy, isn't it? So my Instagram feed is making me hate the wedding I planned. So most people are going to put a lot of time, effort, and you know their own feelings and thoughts. They're channeling what they really like and what they really sort of love into their wedding, and then because they're looking at all sorts of other shit that people post on Instagram about weddings, it's making them not like what they've done with their own wedding. And that's not really what a wedding's about, is it? It should not be exactly about you and what you're into, and your relationship with that person, and celebrating that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, that's what I thought it was about anyway.
But I suppose that's a sign of the times, isn't it? That everyone, you know, not just professionals, but this word content, you know, everybody's obsessed with it. You know, as well in other episodes. We've talked about how even sort of education and jobs. So in the UK now, we have like there's traditionally been A levels in post-16 education. Now there's T levels, technical level education, and there are these subjects these subjects that are, thankfully, yes, they seem to be far more relevant to the types of industry and the nature of work that people in the very near future, are hoping to kind of educate themselves and eventually move into. And so there's a lot more focus on digital and tech and content creation.
Yeah.
So, this, in one breath of saying everybody's obsessed with content and how it looks on the gram and how it looks on, it's a TikTok. Can we make a TikTok out of that? But it's actually, it's crossing over into a lot of different aspects of people's lives now.
Yeah.
Including education, oddly enough. But 5 years ago, like you've just said, content was a word used to describe the contents of something. It had a very different meaning, whereas now it's the whole, absolutely. On LinkedIn, the number of professionals that there are on there whose whole, their now background in sort of more recent education, in the work that they're doing, in the products or the services that they're trying to sell, the things that they're trying to market, is all based around content and increasing visibility online.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, where has this come from? So like you say, we're kind of reflecting before, now, and then what's going to come down the line, it will be really interesting to kind of see what does come next and next. Because right now there's no getting away from the fact that we are living in this world of obsession with content.
Yeah.
And it is spilling over into people's weddings. Like you said, what is a wedding supposed to be all about?
Yeah. Ask yourself what the purpose is of like you both being there and then having your guests with you and everything.
Absolutely.
It's supposed to be like a celebration, but it's become now like a show.
100%. So let's then just start with guests at a wedding. So phones at a wedding. Oh, I can feel it. I can feel it even coming through the camera, down the mic from those of you listening and watching, And this comes up in our groups all the time, doesn't it? All the different kind of Facebook groups and things like that we're all part of, the discussion about this all the time, whether it's down the aisle, whether it's during speeches. And what's your most frequently used phrase now? You love to say when you see someone stood in the aisle or in the middle of the speeches there, oh my gosh, the strength they must have in that arm to keep that phone or iPad there. Your question is,
what are you going to do with that? I don't actually ask them, mate.
No, just to yourself.
I say to myself, or I say to Lindsay, what are they fucking doing with that?
What are they going to do with that?
Like, what is the point? You think about it, right? You're filming a ceremony on your phone. It's like your hands moving all over the place. Sometimes, I saw one the other day, and like it were pointing at ceiling because they just had their arm out filming it, and they're watching the ceremony, but they weren't actually filming the ceremony because they were looking at the ceremony, and the phone was pointing at the bloody ceiling. Well, what's pointing that? And what's pointing even if they're actually filming the couple? They've hired a professional videographer and a professional photographer to document this for them.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with that shitty phone video?
What are they going to do with it? Yeah. So why take a less quality image or clip of something when these people or this couple have hired professionals to take their images or capture the footage of that day?
Yeah. Fair enough. If a couple say, would you mind videoing it for us?
Yeah.
Fair enough. But if they're not, and then you've got like multiple people out, what are they going to do with it? I don't understand. Like getting a little snippet of like something happening at the wedding, it's annoying when it happens at the confetti, but you can understand people trying to get like a cool photo of the confetti run or a little video of the confetti. Even though they shouldn't do it, but you can understand that, a few seconds to post on Instagram stories, right? What are you going to do with an entire ceremony or a big chunk of the ceremony or speeches? What are you doing with it?
But then again...
It's just going to sit on your phone.
As you can tell, Jules has no strong opinions about this. He's fairly passive about all of this.
I'm really relaxed.
So basically, I'm okay saying guests there, but actually, your couples as well. You know, you started to touch on it before. Couples actually asking their friends, because you see it, send your images, tag us. Tag the, tag these images.
Take a photo of me.
Take a photo of me, or document these. Take photos of these different moments throughout the day, and then send it to me. And we're going to make our own TikTok. We're going to make our own reel.
Oh, don't get me started with the whole TikTok thing when girls are getting ready and
gosh.
like you're already late for the ceremony, and you're trying to do nice photos at reveal to dad or whatever. And then it's, hang on, whoa, hold on. We've got to do his TikTok jumping into dress thing. I mean, I get it. It's a cool little trend, but it's had its day, and now it's just pissing everybody off. It even pisses the wedding party off. You can just see what's happening. Right? Bride's absolutely stressing her head off because it's not going to time, and we haven't done reveal yet, and I'm going to be late. And it's, we've got to do this TikTok though. What? Why?
I know.
You don't look happy on it. You look stressed out.
Okay, so that's
disclaimer.
Couple, that's
these are
guests.
my own views. Nobody else.
But then let's open it a little bit further. Then other suppliers.
Yeah.
On the day. So Instagram. Facebook, TikTok, whichever social media platform, but as Jules said, there's a focus on Instagram particularly here. So we are wedding photographers, videographers. That is a platform, that's a tool that has helped us grow and develop our business within a short period of time, number of years. It's been our shop window. It's been the place that we have, and we continue to show people our work, run ads from that, try and entice them in to take a look at the website, ultimately get them to become a lead for us and hopefully convert them into a client that we get to work with. That's the path. Yeah. Is it right that is only open to us?
No, it's not. Other suppliers should be able to use it.
Other suppliers.
Should, absolutely.
Absolutely. They too have the same kind of thought process. Yep. Okay, it's all about the visuals. So that's cool. Let's think about it, however, where it's kind of crossing over. It's kind of encroaching on the timeline for the day, and it's impacting us being able to get the things that we need to be able to document about that day, get that done within certain time parameters. So let's think about prep in the morning and different aspects of what takes place during prep. There are other suppliers that are part of that process, and so they too want to be able to showcase what they have done that's contributed towards that wedding. No problem at all. I think it's safe to say that it becomes an issue when it does just that. It starts to impact upon your time as a photographer or videographer and what you need to do. If you can't progress to a reveal or a first look because there is another supplier that's there that is wanting to get what they need in terms of their content to then be able to
yeah. So what you're talking about is, like, let's say we've got a makeup artist who wants to take photos of the bridal makeup that's finished or whatever,
yeah,
and then they're basically holding the show up because they've done their job,
yeah,
and you've been waiting patiently and trying to be respectful and not get in their way. Yeah. And then you get to a point where they then want to take 5 minutes worth of photos of the makeup that they've just done or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just gets, there's getting one photo.
Yeah.
But then there's like the multiple photos and the hang on a minute, no, just need you to come over here and move into this light and move into this light. And you might have actually refrained from trying to get involved in where the makeup artist or whatever was doing their job, just because you thought, well, it'd be better if we moved them over here. But for whatever reason, I'm not going to start interfering just because they look stressed and they're trying to get it done. So I'm just going to let them get on with it, and I'll wait until they've done, and then I'll get a nice photo. And you're trying to be respectful, but then on the other side of it, then they're spending 5 minutes or more trying to get photos for their own thing and doing now it's not just a photo, now it's a chuffing set of videos to make a reel out of. And
it's a can you do this? Can you start facing this position? Then can you turn
round and look at the camera,
or can you be looking down,
look down,
and then to look. So it's kind of, it seemed to come out of nowhere for me that I noticed that this was happening, and then I would end up in a little bit of a fluster sometimes towards the end of prep,
because then when the bride's on 5 minutes of like looking at the makeup artist's phone,
I haven't just got this, but I've got to leave now to get set up for the ceremony. So I think it's from my perspective unexpected to have kind of seen this and then maybe sort of contend with this a little bit in a way, but I'm understanding enough. Of course, I understand that they have a business to run and grow as well. They need to showcase their work because how else are they going to? It's a visual thing again, isn't it? So of course, I understand that that's what they need to do. I think. But it is getting better, is what I'll say. This year, I've found that it's got a little bit better over this summer period.
Really?
In so much as at those moments. So then, say with hair and makeup, some who actually now communicate with you and say, "This is when everything's done." Just in this, I had one. Gosh, I'm trying to think whose wedding it was, but really, really nice. It was a hair and makeup team, and goodness,
it don't matter about
it. Don't matter. Sorry. So they had just said, look, in the same way that you like us to maybe do some mock touch-ups towards the end. Do you think once we've done that, do you mind if I just get the bride just to do something for me so that I can get all of her hair in, but then also there's this new type of makeup that we've been using and that, not a problem. And I think it's probably just for me, I kind of thought, that's the thing that was missing a little bit.
Yeah,
because
the communication.
Just the communication of that, because 100%, I'm not going to stand in anybody's way or think, well, no, because me getting my images or my clips and my content is far more important than you getting yours. It's not, because we're all, that platform is there, isn't it, for us all to be able to market ourselves. It's such an important, it's been such a crucial tool for a lot of us that I think probably, I got a bit miffed with it. At one point, it's bloody makeup or hair again, just in the way of the shot, or in doing this just to get theirs. Whereas I think it's kind of, I've had some experiences this past summer that were a lot better, and I think perhaps just what was just missing was the kind of communication of it, and just explaining that.
But the thing is, and whether we've kind of focused a lot there around particular type of supplier, and a particular type of the day. I know it's a good example.
It's just one segment of the day.
It's a good example. That's what I'm just going to.
There's venue dressing. But
I'm just going to explain. Because we've had it with like stuff like venue dressing, where you've been like, they've been really behind, and they've been last minute putting the room together, and you've been desperately trying to get in there, and then they're saying, "Everybody out! I need everybody out because I need to get a photo of the room." And again, you understand that. Why not? Why can't we work together? And if our jobs are to take professional photos and professional videos of this, why can't we just work together? Why can't, although we could in some respects find it a bit annoying to kind of have to supply people with media and content, if you like, but that's what we're there to create the content. So why can't we come to some sort of working arrangement where they do their bit and we create content and we pass the content on to them? Yeah. And then that way we're not all trying to, like, you know, we're not trying to do our own, we're not trying to get in on there on the styling or the hair and makeup. We're just doing our job. And I think what it is that people are now starting to do our jobs, and they're not doing our job, are they?
No.
They're not doing our job of catching the wedding day, but what they're doing is they are doing our task, but for themselves. They're not doing it for the couple, they're doing it for themselves. And so it becomes...
Because that's the difference, isn't it? That's where, so the professional, courteous side of you will, you know, you'll often get asked by other suppliers, could you share a few images with me? When the professional images are done, would you mind sharing them with me? And this year we've made a point of saying, you know, with the venue, with the other suppliers, we should be sharing the gallery, or we should be sharing a creative edit of a film, whatever it is, to enable them to showcase what's taken place there as well, because they were part of it. But then for us, there's a thing about relationship building there. So that aside, and, you know, on the one hand, I think, well, surely you want to wait for the professional images to come through. No,
that's the problem. We don't want to wait. That's the problem.
That's isn't it? So we've got this obsession with content, but it's instant content.
Yeah.
I want the instant content for the instant share.
And therefore, these people are before the wedding's even happened, they're posting pictures of bride's makeup, of rooms being dressed. Nobody's even seen the wedding yet. The bride and groom haven't even seen these rooms. You know, I'm not saying that happens all the time, but there will be occasions where the stylists, the room stylist, for instance, might have posted a picture of the room on Instagram because they might just go straight for it, and not the bride and groom might even seen their own room. You know, the makeup artist might take a picture of the bride and post it that day, and they've only just got married. You know, that sort of thing. I just don't know. We're not saying right or wrong here. We're not actually expressing an opinion. We're saying there's an issue with how it's gone, how it's kind of evolved, and I don't know what the solution is. But I feel like it needs to change in some way. Yeah,
because I think for as many couples that there are who want that instant sharing and, you know, just get it out there, let everybody see how incredible my day was. Everybody, you know, tag us in stuff and, you know, oh my gosh, best day ever, most beautiful couple ever. You know, good for them. You know, you put a heck of a lot of planning and time and effort into getting ready for this day. So sure, you know, good on you. You enjoy that gratification that you kind of get from that. But for as many of those couples, there are as many who will say the magic words of, this ceremony is unplugged.
Yeah, don't post anything until we've posted tomorrow.
Yeah, because I do, and I would be fascinated to know, actually, to just hear a mix of opinions from couples about, you know, what do you think then about images or reels or video clips or whatever it is of your day, of you being shared before you've even received your professional images. And let's face it, the vast majority of photographers particularly, you know, work their backsides off to turn around some preview images within 24 hours to deliver to a couple. But even that, in some respects, comes too late, doesn't it? Because already there's all this other content out there. And so the couple, the very next morning, they're not sharing your image that you've taken of them, that you've just worked your butt off overnight to be able to edit and send to them. They're taking the vertical image that one of the bridesmaids or one of the guests at the wedding has taken. And that's the first image then of them. So I do genuinely wonder, of the couples out there, who feels like that kind of dilutes in a way the brilliance of having these professional images or footage done of your day, do you feel like it dilutes it any? Do you not? Do you think, well, no, there's two sides to it, and the kind of raw stuff that comes from friends or guests that are sharing, that's great, and then we get our professional images, and they're the ones that we keep forever. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't really have the answer, do we?
No.
It is a question. It's everyone's going to have a different take on it, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that brings us nicely on to kind of the photographers and videographers, because we as photographers and videographers, we're all becoming obsessed with this content thing too, because it's now, because of the things we've talked about, whether it's guests at weddings, the couples themselves, the other suppliers, because everyone's like in this race and in this competition to get content from a wedding and get it out there, it's becoming even a competition, or not necessarily a conscious competition, but it's becoming a competition now between who's going to get. I need to get the content and I need to get it out there. I want different types of content. So
2 questions then, okay? And this is where we genuinely interested in different opinions here. So, is it okay for a photographer to constantly be making reels throughout the day? Reels or taking video clips. Seen some photographers with phones mounted now, through confetti run, sparklers, things like that. They have phones mounted on their camera or held at the side of the camera. Okay? Is that okay?
Bearing in mind that they've got a videographer filming it next to them on a professional camera who hasn't got their phone out filming it with their phone.
Yeah.
So that footage has got to be processed. It's
yeah.
Obviously this is a real thing that's happened a few times.
Real thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Other side of the coin then. Is it okay for a videographer to use screenshots from the wedding film that they've put together for the couple? Is it okay for them to use screenshots that are then used in a social capacity before the photographer has delivered either previews or a final gallery? More than likely it's going to be the final gallery to a couple. So we're not going to go into that any further. I don't want us to discuss that any further.
You don't want us to give a thing on it?
What I want to hear from... I know that you have opinions on both of those things.
Well, I think both of them are a no, but they're a reality that we're going to have to live with, I think. So I just don't know how you... Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just don't know how you... With those things, I know you're going to ask... We do want to hear your opinion on it, because we actually want to understand what the general consensus is.
Yeah.
But I think from our perspective, or certainly from my perspective, I can't speak for both of us, but I think it's a no to... I don't think either of those things is a good idea. But I think it's a reality that we're now living with, and it's potentially going to create tension.
Could potentially create tension. I see it as a response. I think the photographers have come first in it. I said we weren't going to talk about it. I think the photographers have come first in using their phones to record aspects of the day and put together things.
I don't know. I've seen videographers using screen grabs for quite some time, okay. but not many. Whereas I think now, pretty much, from speaking to photographers that I've worked alongside in this last year, there's been a very much a conscious people engagement wise with photos has tanked. And I find that if I do reels through the day or stories through the day, my engagement goes way up.
Yeah.
Therefore, I get more inquiries, I get more attention. And
that was the thing. That's how I was kind of going to wrap that section up, if you like, because ultimately, whether we're talking about, so I'm just going to stick with the professionals here, so whether we're talking about other suppliers, whether we're talking about photographers, videographers, I do feel that this has very much become nature of the beast. It's how, like you said in the beginning, there's been an evolution here of how the social platforms have been working and how the algorithm or what receives attention.
Yeah.
It's changed and it continues to change. And unless, if we're not recognising that, we're doing ourselves a disservice. And if we're not recognising that and we're actually putting money and time, investment into social media ads, for instance, but you're not adapting to what you do, that's just you can expect zero return on your investment there. That's to not be understanding that as these things themselves change and develop, that you too need to do that would be a mistake. So yeah, just to box that last section off, I completely see that this surgence of get the content, share it, engagement.
Oh, it's here to stay.
Because it's that's how the platforms have changed the behaviour of all of us.
Yeah. So it's here to stay, definitely.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of wrap that up in general, and we'll just talk generally now about the way that social media is kind of impacting on after the wedding days, how you kind of use it. So literally just before we started recording, I'm just going to be completely honest here. Before we started recording the podcast, I was waiting for you because you were inside and you were waiting for you to come in. And I just pulled my phone out, to kill a few minutes, like you do multiple times a day. You're just addicted to this shit. And I pulled my phone out and I just started scrolling through Instagram, and immediately I felt my mood change. Now, I'm not pushing that on anybody else. I'm just telling you, I've noticed this about myself, about how social media, particularly Instagram, tends to make me feel now. I feel like I'm in my own lane. I feel like I know what I'm doing. And then as soon as I start scrolling through, the comparison stuff starts. The fear of missing out feelings start. The FOMO's real, man. I really start to think, why aren't I doing this? Why aren't I at these cool weddings? And I'm just being honest, because I can't possibly be the only person feeling like that in the wedding industry, who's a wedding photographer and videographer. So, the reality is that is how it tends to have an impact on me. And it takes literally a few seconds. If I'm there for like a few minutes, I come off it feeling quite negative about my own job. So I don't know what your thoughts are, listeners. I don't know if you're feeling like that. But just know that that's not something that you're probably alone with. It's not a feeling where you shouldn't let it make you feel like you're insignificant or you're not achieving or doing things that other people are doing. Because it's not real. Everybody's showing their best stuff, and everybody's in this competition to get attention. And it's just what the nature of the beast is. So I tend to find now I even though it's not good for the sort of algorithms and stuff. So it's a social platform, so they want you to be on there to help the algorithm. I do tend to try and stay off it unless I'm on there to post, or I'm on there strategically to do something. And like posting for the sake of it, it's just constant posting stuff. We do it too. We don't post anywhere near as much as we should at the moment because we've just been so busy with other things we've had to prioritise. But, I think generally everyone posts stuff for the sake of it. It's not always because they really want to post something or they really want to post this particular image or this particular video. It's just finding stuff to post. Particularly now, stories is a thing, because it's like to stay relevant on there, you've got to be posting all the time on stories. And all this stuff, this posting constantly, this fear of missing out and this comparison stuff, it becomes quite a drain on you. And it has led to this whole desperate to have content situation where not just photographers and videographers, but all these wedding suppliers, even couples and guests, all desperate to have content. And you know, there's the side of it of where everyone's like got the phones out and they're all trying to get photos and videos at weddings, but it's also, and they're not enjoying the wedding, are they? They're not there to enjoy the wedding. They're distracted by, I need to create content. But it's also definitely become this thing of where you get suppliers nagging photographers for images or videographers for video clips. And that's not kind of, again, I feel like it'd be better if we had a better working relationship, all of us, and we had an agreement where we do supply people with content. But there's also got to be an understanding that if you come back, and this has happened a few times, if you come back to let's say a video, and let's say someone's done a performance at a wedding, or someone's done something and they ask for some video footage of it, and they ask you 6 months after the wedding when you've archived the footage and you're now in a really busy point where you're trying to get through edits to deliver to couples who've paid you to do a job, and somebody comes and asks you for images or asks you for a photo or asks you for video footage that's not going to be easy for you to obtain there and then. You're going to have to go back into the archives and pull it out and go through a bit of a process that might only take you an hour or something, but you haven't got that spare half an hour or an hour to drop what you're doing with paid work to, you know, to supply people with stuff. And just that understanding of like, because they could just pull their phone out and take a video or photos or something, they just think everything's instantly available. So, you know, that's kind of become a bit of an issue. And couples who've been super impatient and wanting photos and videos like instantly, not even like waiting until the end of the wedding day, or, you know, the next morning they're on your case sort of because they're desperate for something to post to Instagram. And whilst you can understand it as a supplier, as a videographer, photographer, you can understand them wanting stuff quickly. It's just from a workflow perspective, if you've got multiple weddings a week or on a weekend, it's just not possible to be that efficient with the way that we're all used to working. And so the reason for kind of talking about this stuff is not just to kind of have a moan about it, it's to have what is the solution? You know, that we can't just carry on working the way we've always worked, because the way that we're delivering things and the way that people are consuming things has changed and is changing. So it might be that we can't just rely on the old methods when we aren't dealing with the old world anymore. And, you know, I've had this a few times, like people sort of asking for images straight away the next morning. And you're thinking, at what point, when I drove home from a wedding at 9-10 o'clock at night and got in at midnight, at what point did you think I was or should have been editing these before now? Bear in mind, you're gonna do a next day preview anyway, but just first thing in the morning asking you for it. It's because people are so obsessed, rather than just being like, I mean, I remember when we got married, there's no way I could have been asking photographer for photos next day. I were nursing hangover. You know, I'd had a good night. And you know, you should be enjoying your time together as a couple. And sort of like, you know, if you're not still in bed, wink, wink, nod, nod, you should be like going to breakfast with your family or something like that, not worrying about where's my content. So
yeah,
I'm not sure, but it just feels like a real shame that people are that desperate.
Yeah, it's that focused on that.
Yeah,
and not even saying thank you afterwards.
And not even saying thank you, but that's another topic for another day. And the format changing from like horizontal to vertical, you know, is that making you adapt the way that you shoot? Is it making you adapt the way that you sort of deliver things? Because, you know, is it, especially if you're posting on Instagram now, are you posting horizontal content, or are you prioritizing now about shooting more vertical photos and more portrait photos because you want to be able to have them to use on Instagram in either the kind of format that it's going to use on stories or in the feed? So, you know, is it changing the way you're shooting?
Changing the way you're shooting, and then perhaps post as well for videographers, that teaser trailer that you'd have made once upon a time, you know, think about the different ways in which you're now doing that when you do it so that it fits.
Yeah, well, I don't
format.
make a normal 16:9 video sort of trailer now. I make a vertical one because that you need the vertical content to go on there. I don't think it feels or looks as good. You know, you could argue it's a bit more dynamic, but specifically for telling stories, it's not the best.
No.
And you can't resist it, you know. And it just sort of, I just wonder, is that going to carry on? Are we moving everything towards vertical? Are they going to expect their entire video in a vertical format? Are they all going to want their photos in portrait? You know, don't give me these crappy horizontal landscape photos. That's no good to me. You know. And does this mean that video becomes prioritized? You know, is this the thing? Because, like we've already mentioned, we've seen plenty of photographers this year holding the phones next to their actual camera, shooting a video of something like confetti or walking back down the aisle or something like that, shooting a video of it and taking photos. I mean, for a start, the multitasking, I'm a bit concerned how well that's going to go, trying to do those two things. We do both photo and video, and I don't know how good that video is going to look or how good those photos are going to be if I'm trying to do both, one in one and one in other. It's not something... I've done some crazy stuff to try and innovate in this industry. I really have. I've tried all sorts of shit. But I don't even think I'll try that, you know, because I thought, how could I do it? But it would have to be mounting, you know, creating some sort of rig that took photos and videos together. I couldn't hold a phone in one hand, keep it straight, and take photos. I just couldn't. I know they're going to be garbage. So could this be the thing that, you know, really pushes photographers to embrace video, and then, you know, everybody becomes like this hybrid shooter? I'm not saying that that's what's happening. I'm just saying it's definitely pushing it one step further in that direction. But not the kind of wedding videography that we all have, that kind of modern wedding videographers, wedding filmmakers, whatever you want to call us, are into. It's going to be this short snippet shit where it's like there's not really much meaning behind it. It's just a big show. It's just about attention grabbing stuff. So then the whole emotional and story element of it is completely lost. Yeah. It worries me that
yeah. Does that become redundant?
Yeah.
You know,
do people stop wanting it? I'm not saying that they do. We're not here saying that's what's going to happen. We're posing the questions. We're asking the questions that you might be asking yourself. You know, is this going to change? Are people going to not as be into what we're, you know, not wanting shorter story-driven content that's, you know, kind of your sort of 5 minutes to 10 minutes, but it's nice storytelling stuff. Maybe they don't want the longer documentary edits, you know, the full day with all the video clips of the kids playing and the grandparents hugging you and all that, because, no, we don't need to see that. We just want to see a really cool picture of our shit hot cake that we spent loads of money on and all this styling stuff that means nothing the day after. We just want to see that because we want to show off. Does it stop the documentary wedding photography that showcases real emotion and real moments and excitement? Does it kind of make that a bit void as camera phones get better and people are just snapping and taking videos all day long, and it works okay in low light and stuff? You know, I don't know.
Yeah. And that kind of, you know, where does that leave us then as the professionals? Because we've touched on different ways in which, you know, we've all made some changes. We've all adapted the way in which we work in terms of kind of reaching our ideal clients, in terms of marketing ourselves and actually showing the work that we can do. Those of you that have done this for the kind of medium long term. So you've actually transitioned through, different eras, if you like, of the marketing, from just when we were talking about, the wedding fairs and things like that, and actual hard copy of your work to show to people before there was a way of doing it
before
digitally.
It was all websites and online galleries. And
so,
does this make that even stronger? Because that's the gap that needs filling, because you're going to have all this stuff on your phones and on your social media account, but you're not necessarily going to have printed stuff to put on your wall or in a book. So maybe albums and prints they make an even bigger resurgence than what they've already been making, because now that's our job to create that, not to create social media pictures.
Yeah. But it will be interesting. Maybe there'll be those two groups of people, those that we find ourselves competing with those that are happy to just go for an image that's not necessarily perfect. It's kind of mobile phoneable. It's done on the Google Pixel, because guess what? I can take out that guest that I don't want on that image. I can just remove them from that image with the magic of the Google Pixel phone. Eraser, yeah. But is that what people will be happy with? Because
it's instant.
It's instant, yeah. It's right there. So where does that leave us all when we think?
Should we be shooting on phones? Then we can just upload it straight away. I mean, it's serious. It's a serious question. It's one that we've debated, isn't it? Do we somehow do both?
Yeah.
So,
like I said, because anyone can be an editor now.
Yeah, because the tools are so good and AI is so good.
The last 12 months, our now 11-year-old daughter, just watching her. She uses CapCut, but she's slowly learning how to use Final Cut.
Yeah,
but
video
watching
editing is
her
really quick. Yeah.
Just be like, no, do this, do that. Like, it's mind-boggling watching her. It's amazing. But these tools on our phones are there for everybody to use. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't need an expensive person who's going to spend days over it because they're going to make it perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the questions. Is do we need to adapt? Do we need to adapt? Are you thinking about how you would adapt, or are you like, no way, I'm doing it this way, so I believe in? Should we be competing with mobile phones and instant gratification of Reels and TikTok? Should we be competing in that market? Should we be trying to somehow integrate into that? And if so, how? Is done and out better than perfect? Get it out. It doesn't need to be amazing. Doesn't need to be shot on your Sony A1 when you can just shoot it on your iPhone. And where's it going? What's your thoughts? We hope it's been thought-provoking. We hope it's been thought-provoking, and maybe it's even generated a bit of fire in your belly. You might have some opinions on this. So if it has, get in touch with us. Leave a DM at Wedding Mavericks on Instagram. Make sure you put a reel with it. A dancing one. Or singing.
And captions.
Yeah, we want to hear all that caption stuff.
So please don't forget to also rate and review us wherever you are listening to our podcast. And please also think about sharing it with people who you think might also find it helpful. In our next episode next week, it's Adapt or Die, which is a nice continual... bit harsh, isn't it, to finish on? No, we'll just kind of continue speaking about our need to perhaps adapt and evolve as things continue to evolve around us. We're, of course, going through a new crisis this year, no longer COVID. It's all to do with finances, and it's really disrupting our industry. So how can we continue to sustain our business when people's finances are so heavily impacted? That's what we'll be talking about next week. So thank you ever so much for listening. We look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, everyone.